been doing this for longer than most people. I think it was your 7th anniversary at Pencil the other day.
Last Thursday was my 7-year anniversary at Pencil. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm not sure that there are many people who've been running creative teams fully AI focused and AI embedded for as long as 7 years.
I think a lot of people joke the fact that AI wasn't even up and running 7 years ago. And I'm here to say, no, it was.
Fantastic. So hopefully you can give us some really good insights. What we've been focusing on in my discussions with Will over the last few weeks is the way that something deep is shifting. We're going from traditional workflows that use AI to fully AI empowered workflows. So creative work isn't just sped up, creative work is reorganized from the bottom up, from linear production into structured systems. So there's a lot to talk about and we don't have long. I'm going to try and keep my questions nice and brief. But we've been thinking about how creative teams aren't just building assets anymore. They're building creative infrastructure. What does that look like in your team? And what advice would you give to other people setting up teams to build creative infrastructure in this way?
I think the first advice I would give to brands and to creative team is to really be able to understand where your limitations of your skill set is. And for me, for example, when I started working with, or at least the recent days when I started working with different AI models, I start to realize that my capacity on knowing the whole realm of content creation, from static images to templating to video, it's a skill set that most creative folks, they are specialized in each of it individually. And I've learned that my limit is in advertising, right? So because I've at least have about 16 years of experience in advertising. So that is my realm, that I come from an experience from that industry. So I would not be able to understand the realm of filmmaking. But this is where, when you hire people who are in that industry or have that experience, you learn from each another to be able to craft really fantastic and high quality outputs for other brands. So I guess that's my advice, is to really understand your team's limitation and their skill sets. Well, I would say maybe not limitation, but understand where your team's skill set and talents are at, and then plug in the gaps where they would need help in. So if you've got a very experienced creative director that comes from an advertising background, great at creative thinking, great at understanding how to create performance ads or to create branded, very high branded outputs for big brands, but struggle maybe a little bit with camera angles and like going from one scene and match cutting or smash cutting into a different scene, that kind of tips over into the filmmaking, as I was mentioning before. So if that's the gap, understand it and learn how to grow your team and fill that gap in.
Yep, fantastic. And if we think about filling some of the gaps that we have in teams, we're increasingly moving towards creating agents, creating workflows, and of course, prompting is always going to be a really important skill. So how would you approach the new roles in our industry, things like prompt engineers and agent architects? How do you work out where you need them? And then how do you even begin to recruit them?
Yeah, this is an interesting question, because when we started to work with workflows like with the Nodo UI and with creating different agents with the agent builder, we as creative people are, as I mentioned before, we are idea people. We like to see the visual side of things. Like, we like to tell the story, the narrative of our ads that we're creating. But where we fall short sometimes is structuring that in a workflow, or how does that work? How does that connect up from insights, and how does it connect up to the outputs at the end of it? So this is where we started to look at prompt engineers, or started to interview prompt engineers and agent architects, and we realized that we really needed people who are system thinkers. This was a gap within our
Yeah.
team, um, like, and working with a system thinker with a creative mind has been it has been a really collaborative environment, at least for my creative team, because we, as I said, we sometimes know visually in our heads what the output is going to look like. And by working with a system thinker like an agent architect and a prompt engineer, we're able to connect up the insights and connect up the how that idea comes into form to present to the client. So it's about using insights, it's about using data and getting a prompt engineer to help to collaborate to build that out for you so that you can actually sell the idea much more stronger to your brands and to your clients.
Fantastic. And we've been through a lot of change. I mean, you've had 7 years at Pencil, you must have seen the entire shift to Gen AI. What do you think is coming in the next 6 months, and how are you adapting your team to meet that challenge?
I think in each team, we are going to start to realize that we're going to be having to work with very different specialized creative people. So like I would never imagine being working with a filmmaker or a script writer, or a motion designer or a video editor. In a production line, yes, maybe from time to time I would just touch base with them on the production, but to be working so close to them, I think this is where a lot of creative teams are going to shift. Instead of having 5 designers in a team working in a production line and then 1 creative director, 1 art director, I think it's going to be like 1 creative director, 1 art director, 1 motion designer, 1 video editor, 1 copywriter, all of us specializing in specific things to hit the client's brief in a
Yep.
team of this, like, all specialized roles.
That's definitely something that I've seen as a shift in training as well. Increasingly, we're training such powerhouse teams of so many different types of creatives, and also some non-creatives coming into the flow, like analysts coming directly into that creative flow as well.
Yeah.
There's
Working with training people as well has been really interesting, because where we struggle sometimes is the words to present to clients, and how to explain a feature. Like, again, we are creative people, so like, how do you explain a feature to a client that's going to be productive, or
Yeah.
aha moment for these folks?
Yeah, and it's really collaboration, isn't it? It's just everything we're moving towards is so much cross-team collaboration, and I think that's what our clients need to aim for as well. As a kind of last discussion, no, second from last, I'm going to ambush you with 2 questions. So as a last discussion point, we are always looking at scale with clients. A lot of clients are buying into Gen AI on the promise of scalability. How do we make sure that our human systems, our human organization can keep up with the level of scale that Gen AI can produce?
So how do creative teams, or how do brands in general, plug human in the loop, right, with Gen
That's
AI?
the great way of thinking about it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
how
I
can
think
that in loop enable the scale of Gen AI?
yeah, I think AI is really great at helping creative folks think, or use data to think further to create to generate the outputs. Where I see us being in every stage, to be honest, at, almost at every point of the workflows, there's always a human involved in it. Whether
Mhm.
it's someone prompting for the insight, someone inputting the data into the agent, to even selecting the idea. selecting the insights, selecting the ideas, and then that's just the tech side of it. That's just the idea side of it. And then it comes to the execution. Sure, now I'm more than capable to be able to craft an image myself, or a designer is able to craft the image themselves. There's still the seeing part. There's still the right. If my designer is based in, let's say, in Europe, but the brief is for people or target audience in Asia, the cueing part is human. The cultural part of it is still human, making sure that it's stereotyping a specific culture. And even then as well, like little bitty elements within an imagery of like, is that person wearing the right ethnical clothing? Is that person even looking ethnically correct? Is it a slang that someone local will say, this is where plugging humans in along the way helps to create a really good and a finalized deliverable for the clients. Even like tweaking the camera angles. Like I know I keep talking about videos and images a lot, but it really makes a huge difference when you have someone who's experienced telling the AI, I don't want this camera angle. I know you're suggesting it to me, and I think it's fantastic as a first round, but I think it would be a lot better if it's coming from this side of the view of the scenario. So, and that takes experience. That takes a great creative director, art director with good visualization to be able to input that into a prompt and to take that outputs to the next level.
No, I was going to ask you whether the human still matters in this process, but you've already answered that. Like, it's really, really clear that there isn't a tool-based replacement for that human creativity and judgment.
No.
So I think we're going to have to wrap up, but I think our takeaway here really is that, yes, there are big changes with AI. Yes, there are new systems and processes, but the role of a creative is changing, not diminishing. So that human creativity still always matters, but it might be creativity in system design, it might be creativity in review of outputs, it might be creativity in prompting. At Pencil, the mission is still the same. AI is a tool, not a replacement, but that tool is changing, so the way that tool is being used needs to change as well. And I think the big question that we're looking at across all of these sessions, and I hope, George, you'll be able to join us for another session soon, is that our clients need to be thinking about the intent behind what they're doing, the best way to leverage AI.
Exactly. Yeah. And creating the right briefs for using Gen AI as well.
Exactly. I think one of the things I was saying to Will on one of our calls last week is that there are always going to be some briefs and some demand from some clients for high quality human creativity, and that's fantastic. But AI is such a powerful tool for 95% of what we're producing.
Yeah. And I think as well, just to add a bit, I don't think the traditional way of working is ever going to die. I think it's going to be a combination of using AI in the everyday work.
Fantastic. And I'm going to take that as a really, really powerful last word from you, Jules. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everyone who's watched us on the stream. We'll be joining you soon for another